Debt's great. I love debt. Debt's fantastic. And then you obviously use their money to buy more cars, to go again and again and again. As long as you control that, it's easy enough done. My wife would say to me, she'd say, like back in the early days, she'd say, you can only spend 100 grand at Central. Don't go over 100 grand. And I would spend like 150 and wish to make it work. Somehow, I'm always kept an eye on the funding. And cars come off the plan, and then you've got to make sure you've got your money in your bank and so on. 300 grand with Motor Novo. I had a BCA one as well, which I think was about 300 grand. We tried some other ones which weren't particularly very good. But the more we went into lockdown, I remember lockdown, we had nothing, we had funding packages. Well, stock level was about 2 million to about 1 million. We didn't have anything on funding, which was great. So when we closed down for lockdown, that we weren't like shitting ourselves thinking, what's going to happen here? So it was like a good place to be. But then the only reason why we didn't have anything on funding was because our site was full. We couldn't, if I could have got this land at the side and then ramped it back up again, I would have went again with it.
We've never had, this is probably what's probably held us back. We've never had funding, ever. So it is good that we own all our own stock. We are full here now, so I've just taken on a barn where we can get another 20 cars, but we'll be able to fill that with our own money as well. So, but then it's like, then where do we've done the same for years and years and years, and, you know, we're having a perfectly nice living out of it, both of us. But it's obviously Dad's older, he's 61, doesn't want to be kicking on massively now, and he shouldn't have to, should he, at that age? He wants to try and chill out a bit. But then it's where do I go in the next few years? We've got an option to purchase the site here at the end of our lease, but we've still got another, we've just signed another 10-year one last year, so we've got another 9 years left. And then we've got an option to purchase the site, which obviously we'll try and do, and we'll try and do that without having to borrow anything either. But I always wondered how you went going from there, because we all started in the same place. Joe started selling Corsas, you started selling Clios, Chop started selling Fiats. We all started like on our driveways, and we've all gone to different levels. And it always just, it's the people that take that next step. But I suppose it's how your brain works, because I'm not sure my head could handle having another, 9 staff's enough for us at the minute. I don't think I could handle having another 20 staff and a massive site. And
Scott, by the way, I'm back in the game now. It was rain on the roof. I couldn't hear anything. So I thought, I've got one of the quietest cars in the world here, a Rolls Royce. Why not sit in that? Why not sit in the roller? So I'm back in the game. I can hear everyone now. No, the point you made earlier, Scott, about being proud of being debt free. You know, I totally get what you're saying, because I was thinking about this the other day. I haven't borrowed anything for mine. And something you might be able to advise me on as well, others might be able to advise me on, is debt's not taxable, is it? Whereas what I found is having the cash sitting there is it's all taxable. I've just found out very painfully in the last couple of days that it's so. I wonder as well is if having your own cash actually ends up being more expensive than if you had the debt, because someone can't tax you on a debt, can they?
Yeah, I was advised, which I should have done years ago, set up a pension fund, which is like the Redgate Lodge pension scheme, which is for me and my wife. And that was a good move. And, you know, you can use your allowance, so you can put 60,000 a year into your pension.
Yeah. Per
person. That comes off your corporation tax, so you get a saving there, and then that goes into your pension. Pension then buys the property, and then the property, like the Select site, I think we get 45,000 a year rent. So the 45,000 a year goes back into your pension, which is tax free. Whereas if it was your rent, if somebody who wasn't in a pension, you'd pay tax on it. And then also the site, we paid 350 for it. We've probably spent 70 on it. It's been getting revalued at 450. So, but let's say in, 10 years time or 15 years time, it was worth 750 or 800. You don't pay the tax on the profit. If you wanted to stop.
Capital gains, yeah.
Yeah, or if you came with the motor trade altogether and said, I'm sick of this game, it's all went electric, I could rent the sites out to whoever the tenants were, and then the rent what they pay is tax-free. And then you've got like 20% lump sum of the value of your fund, which you can take as a quick thing. But suppose, paying rent, it's burning it and you just throw it down the toilet, I suppose.
This is the thing. But I was sending the message to the boys have now been offered the 2 units next to me. It's not a lot of money, but it's more money going in a landlord's pocket rather than going into a property that, like you say, if you've got that pension set up, could be accruing value as well. So yeah, it's not expensive. You know, it's like another 1,500, £1,600 for a double unit and the rest of the car. But you combine that with what I'm paying on the other unit, I'm looking at it going, that could be a mortgage off of my own property that, you know, say is increasing in value, and I can do what I like with. So but yeah, I mean, like Theo says, it's both Theo and I think you use stock funding, don't you, Joe?
Yeah.
Both Theo and I don't use any at all. I don't ever max out to the point where I'm like, I could buy more cars if I had stock funding. It's not like I'm running out of money like that, but I do wonder if I mean, it might well get to that point. I do wonder if financially wise, it's better using your cash in a different way and using stock. If there's a benefit from using stock funding.
Depends what you want, doesn't it? Because you could say like you want to stick with keeping it low overhead, simple, whatever, or like the Scots of this world, or like I would like to be. I'd love to be, just for the record, I'd love to be having like meetings with accountants where we're talking about like clever ways to not pay as much tax because you're earning so much. That must be that's like life goals for me.
I've got
Anyway.
one next Tuesday. I've got one next Tuesday booked in because I'm horrified at the amount of tax I'm about to pay.
Well, the thing is, if you were to, or you can make a decision. Do I take some stock funding out because they would throw it at you, no problem whatsoever, and you take on the unit next door and you start buying stuff that perhaps you wouldn't with bigger margins. Like Scott said, it's harder to get the margins on the cheaper stuff, and this is a problem a lot of us find. That's why I expect me and the likes of Theo and everyone will look at Motorway and we're just like, how does anyone pay these prices? Because the margins just don't seem to be there. I guess when you get into like the more premium stuff, like some of the stuff that Scott will have and whatever, that you know, the margins are that much bigger. The risk is bigger in a sense as well, but it leaves you that bit of room. But you could take the money on, you could take the units on, and all you got to think about is something I always think about when we talk to some people when they're like, oh, I don't know about taking on funding, or I don't know about spending a couple of grand on Auto Trader. And what was it someone said to me the other day? I can't remember what it was, but basically it was just like worrying about spending some money on something. And it's a bit like, would you turn down, let's say it's stock funding, you borrow 100 grand and it's going to cost you a couple of grand a month to fully use it, or whatever it is, a few grand a month. Like, would you turn down a potential of, let's say, an extra £50,000 of gross profit that month because you don't want to pay a £3,000 bill? It's just simple accounting at the end of the day, isn't it? It's like if you use it and you're not a complete idiot with it and you don't get it and the first thing you go out and buy is a 911 or something, then it's just accounting, isn't it? And it's like, yeah, it's debt, it's awful, it's whatever. It's like, but if it's a debt that makes me money, it's not bad, is it?
The other argument is that if I took the stock funding to buy my cars rather than using my cash, then I'd have a huge deposit to put down on my own property, wouldn't I?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it would also help your cash flow if you wanted to up your sort of stock turn, the amount of vehicles you've got in stock. That's how I look at it. Is, you know, I could buy all the cars with cash. Well, I say that I couldn't now what we've got, but what I could have stuck with what I had and just like done it as we are. But it allows the cash flow to then, if you want to like, you know, develop your facilities or whatever. You need a new wash bay, you need some new equipment, you need some new stuff in the garage, which means that you can do jobs in-house that you used to pay other people to do. You can do that with your own cash. Well, the cars have got finance against them when you sell them, but you factored that in. Do you know what I mean? It's going to cost me a couple £100 to have that for 45 days. But I can have, instead of that, I've got 15 grand in my back pocket that I can now spend on something else. But then you'd have the cash, wouldn't you, to buy this? You keep wanging on about wanting to get rid of some of your classic cars and having a nice car for yourself. And for me, I only drive around in a 10 grand, like 10-year-old Porsche Cayenne with 130,000 miles up it because I'm tight. I hate spending money on myself, and that's people in my past in my ear talking about not spending money on yourself and wasting money. And it sounds like I had a very entrepreneurial grandmother, believe it or not, who was incredibly successful and sounds a lot like Scott's dad. It was just penny pinching and tight with everything, and would come to me, I've got this business idea, and really what it was me sucking up the tax for my uncle or something on some house. Come buy this house because he's got too many and he's going to pay a big capital gains bill. You buy it and then you can live in it for a bit, and then you can. It's like, yeah, but I've already got a house. It's like, don't worry about it. It's just constantly trying to stitch you up. People wouldn't believe that's what families can be like, but yeah.
It must be frustrating for you. I didn't get a chance to say this earlier because of the volume thing, but it must be frustrating for you, Scott, I think, from what you were saying about your dad, that there must be an awful lot of people just assume that you walked into it and it was just like, you know, silver spoon straight away, right into it. It was easy to get set up and and get away.
Oh yeah, I would think people would presume that because he's very well known. I mean, he went to prison for 6 years when he was in the motor trade, and he'd always say to people, "I went to the House of Correction," and he'd always say there was no clever people in prison. So he had his bad times like everybody, but he was successful. But people would automatically presume that he'd help me out or set me up and all that. But he would also tell everybody he'd done that. I remember my brother bought a Mercedes once, had nothing to do with him, but he told everybody it was his car just to get to do it. Every time we went on holiday, I mean, we used to fly, when I was a kid, we used to fly to America when people didn't really go to America. We used to fly Pan Am. And it was those days when you'd be on the airplane, it was full of smoke where everybody was sitting smoking. They had the ashtrays and they had the screens that would drop down, like the projection screens. And we used to go to America for like a month. In those days, so my dad would take a month out the trade to take us around America, or these big long holidays. But every time you went, you'd always lose an item of my mother's jewellery. So she would have a diamond ring, which would lose it. You'd always put an insurance claim in to pay for the holiday. It was always that. And all of her diamonds, did they ever go to the jewellery shop window and look and say, I'll buy that? I think they just turned up. Well, these like ornaments in the house. When I was a kid, my parents would say, anything happens to us, it's worth the money, that ornament, and that one is, and that one is. And there'll be ones where you go and see them at Harrods. Now they'll be like 10 grand for an ornament. But he never bought them from the shops. I don't know where they came from, but that was just the lifestyle. That's how things were back then. But
so was he an Arthur Daly? Was he? Because we always get Penn with the Arthur Daly now. Did he bodge up cars? Did he?
100%, yeah.
100%.
And he'd say to me, I never screwed anybody over. But then as I've got older and I've met people who told me stories in the past about them, like funny stories where your feet would fall through the floor of a Beetle, and then they'd sell it to somebody and just they'd patch it up with like different things, like just some of the things he used to do. But he'd always say I never screw anybody over, but yeah, I think he probably did.
Car dealers and business owners alike, if like me, you're always trying to improve your reviews for your business, then let me tell you about today's sponsor, which is Musset. If you haven't heard me talk about them before, then Musset make custom care packages that you can give to your customers in order to help drive them to a review page to leave a positive review for your business, and it's worked absolutely incredible for us. Musset make a variety of products, including those very nice little care packages you get if you were to go and buy a nice sports car. I wouldn't personally know. You get a picture of your car in there, you get a key, and they can customize that to whatever you want. But what's worked really well for my two businesses, Bera Motors and Carsport for More, is their review boxes. What you get is a nice little box like this that you can hand over to your customer when you finish dealing with them and selling them a car. On the front, they're going to find a QR code where they can go straight to your Google review page, or if you prefer, they can do FIFO or one of those other ones, Quibble Dibble, I don't even know what they're called. Inside your customer's care box, they're going to find loads of goodies in here, completely random every time. We got screen protectors, we got chocolate bars, sweets, and a nice coffee, nice little peach drink. The whole point of this is the customer feels that they've got a little added extra. It's something they've got to take out of the car. They're going to look through when they get home. They're going to open this up and kind of see what they've been given by you. And while they're at it, they're more than likely going to leave a review. In fact, it's worked probably about 95% hit rate for us with these that we've given out for Bera Motors. If you just scroll through our review page now, you will see our reviews have gone through the roof, and a lot of them mention the very nice care package that we gave them. I have to admit, when I first got these care packages, I wasn't 100% convinced they were going to work. But as I say, they have been great, and I will continue to use them. The prices are really good too. You're talking sort of £15 to £20 per box, depending on how many you're buying. And of course, you can customize them if you want to put one of your mugs in, one of your pens, something like that. Then they can do that for you too. So if it sounds like something that could be used to your business, I can't see how it wouldn't, then head over to musset.co.uk and one of the team there can help get you set up.